It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, blah, 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 blah. Whenever you're watching or listening, hope you're doing all right. Special shout out goes to our Holyfield television viewers. Fairly new, and we're glad to be part of your day or evening or morning, whenever you're watching. We'd like to hear from you. Drop us an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Let us know how we're doing. Also, don't forget to download our app. You can get it at Fight, that's F-I-T-E, fight.tv/Billy C. Download the app and watch and listen to our show on your handheld. That's it. Just go to fight.tv/Billy C. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Don't forget, if you head north or south on I-95, you can eat some of Sal's delicious Italian cuisine, and it's less than a 15-minute detour out of your way. It's even faster if you run the red lights, but I don't suggest that. But check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria, for the address and all that happy stuff. And don't forget, if you're listening on WGIG in Brunswick, Georgia, and you haven't been to Sal's, what the hell are you waiting for? Go down on Frederica and sample his food and find out why I go all the way to St. Simons, which I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks, just to feed my fat face. Yeah. That's it. So check that out. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Gawkbox. Hey, you want us to help you? You want to help us? Go sign up for Gawkbox right now. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Gawkbox banner. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, Friday, June 9th. I'm going to be there. I want you to be there, too. What a great card. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster. And let me know where you're sitting, and I'll come and see you on June 9th. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy right now while you're watching or listening to the show by going to BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. If you want to get a signed copy, don't worry about it. We'll hook you up. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. It's right there. Got a lot of stuff going on today. We got our blast from the past. Alex Pierpaoli will be joining us in about an hour to talk about former world champion and Boxing Hall of Famer Nicolino Locche. Another blast from the past request by you guys. And don't forget, if you have a request, just email me, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. I say it all the time because there's a lot of yous out there that don't drop the G in talking, So, also, coming up in a little bit, we got Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazzard. He's scheduled to join us. Can't wait to get his thoughts on that whole Andre Dirrell fiasco. And also, our main topic today kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the week. Gervonta Davis, in my opinion, put on a stellar performance last weekend in England. And a lot of it, was overshadowed by, the egotistical Floyd Mayweather Jr. And, we talked prior about Gervonta Davis listening to Floyd, not his corner, et cetera, et cetera. And, I can't help but think, what exactly does Floyd bring to the table for Gervonta Davis? I mean, listen, putting Floyd's own accomplishments aside, and like I've said many, many times, there's only one Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd did it his way. He was extremely successful. He sits on a 49-0 record right now. He sits on a piles and piles of cash, okay? And that's all fine and good. But what does he actually bring to the table for Gervonta Davis? He's a promoter, so, theoretically he could bring some fights, but that's it. I think he does more harm than good. All you got to do is look at some of his other so-called proteges. Jalen Love never amounted to what we thought he would and still hasn't. Adrian Broner, he's been in and out of jail more times than Rocky Senacola changes his socks, and even when you look at Badou Jack, Floyd abandoned him when he lost, and he's arguably the best fighter that Floyd has, aside from Davis. So my thoughts are, what exactly can Floyd do for Gervonta Davis? Gervonta Davis has his own skill set. Floyd's not going to get in the ring and fight him for him. He doesn't even fight real fights himself. So why would he do that? Gervonta Davis is an exciting young fighter that doesn't need Floyd Mayweather. He's proved himself that he can accomplish things, and he's going to get offers, and he does not need to split any money or any of the limelight with Floyd Mayweather. In my opinion, he needs to kick Floyd to the curb sooner than later. Maybe even now. And speaking of now, joining us all the way from beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia, he's a New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer. He's a Guinness Book of World Record holder. He owns a chain of restaurants, from here to New York to St. Simons, and he's a great guy. My man, Sal Rocky Senacola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Bill. How are you today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. Sal, my question today,
Yes,
Gervonta
sir.
Davis looked very good in his fight against Leon Walsh last weekend. And, a lot of talk about Floyd Mayweather's connection, and Floyd's going to do this and he's going to do that, and Gervonta listens to Floyd and blah, blah, blah. And I can understand him looking up to Floyd. Most young fighters could look up to Floyd and should because of his own accomplishments. But like I've said many, many times, there's only one Floyd Mayweather. I personally think Gervonta Davis does not need anything Floyd can offer him, and accept advice, and he certainly doesn't have to be under his banner to do that. And I think that he should kick him to the curb. I want him to avoid some of the pitfalls that Adrian Broner fell in. What's your thoughts?
That's a rocky road. I don't mean that with a pun, but
Isn't that an ice cream?
I like that. Let's come up with that new flavor. Gervonta Davis, let me tell you, like I said last weekend, going into the fight weekend, he may be a little brash, he may be a little bit full of himself, but guess what? It sells, it works, and that's what he's got to do for himself. And let me tell you, when I saw the post-fight interview, he came across very humble, very grateful, very appreciative. And, his alignment with Floyd Mayweather possibly has helped him get the notoriety and attention that he's gotten up to this point. And when I saw the post interview, also including Floyd, when they went to ask Floyd questions, which it was the media that did that, Floyd tried in his little diplomatic way, to his credit, to deflect that and say, this is not about me, this is all about Gervonta Davis night. I like that. Whether it was a ploy or whether it was enough, I thought that was very genuine in a sense that, all right, after the fact, it happened, they talked about Floyd, and then he said, hey, look, that's okay, but this is not my night. This is not your night, kid. What do you mean it's not my night? So they went back to Gervonta Davis. Going forward, well, does Floyd have to be around him all the time and everything else? I mean, if Floyd was an active fighter, and if Floyd could showcase Gervonta Davis and all his undercards and all that stuff, that would be big. That would be nice. It'd be a great parlay for paydays and things like that. But that's not the case. And if Floyd does have a mega fight coming back to, aside from Conor McGregor, I would hope that he would probably have a Gervonta Davis as a co-feature or as a pre-fight. I don't think it's a bad alignment. I'm not that upset that Floyd is in his corner on a lot of levels. Like I said, what goes through a fighter's mind, if he feels he's aligned by a superstar, by someone that's giving him that notoriety or helping. And yes, you're right. In Floyd's mind, as long as he doesn't get upstaged by this young fighter, he's good with it too. So this relationship up to this point has not hurt either fighter. And going forward, I think it's going to be on let's keep our eyes on it and watch out what happens going forward. But I don't think it's detrimental to him at this point. And I think it's helped him to some degree to get where he is. So I would say let's look at it in a guarded situation and see what happens. That's my opinion.
Well, I think that Gervonta Davis's own skill set got him to where he is. And I think that he idolizes Floyd. And he's just trying to be, part of the clique, and I don't think he needs Floyd at all. And, yeah, that comment you made about Floyd saying, yeah, it's Gervonta Davis, he said it and then he went back to talking about himself, so whatever. But, and by the way, if you're watching or listening live, I know there's a lot of different chat rooms available, but the one that we look at and respond to is up on BillyCBoxing.com, so come on over there. And Coach K just made a comment. He says, Mayweather's already influencing Davis. Says Lomachenko will have to wait a long, long time to fight Davis. Now, this is my point, Sal. This is my point. Floyd Mayweather made a career and a successful one at a cherry-picking opponents. And what I mean by that, because there's a lot of Floyd Mayweather fans that will throw accomplishments at you when you use the word cherry pick. Like Carlos Baldomir was a world champion that Floyd defeated. But they leave out the part that he was the worst and the weakest champion when Floyd chose to pick him rather than take the tougher opponent at that time. And he ultimately won that fight and ended up with a title. The thing is this. I said it yesterday. When you think of great fighters, and I'm talking about all-time great, and I honestly think Gervonta Davis has an opportunity and a chance to be a great fighter. I really do. I see the skill sets in this kid that could make him a great fighter. The thing is what really makes a great fighter great, in my opinion, is how long that fighter stands through the test of time. In other words, how long do people remember him and generations after they fight discuss him, a la Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler and Hearns. I mean, we still talk about these fighters as if, we wish that they could step in the ring and fight again. Floyd Mayweather, the only discussion about Floyd Mayweather that you can make is his record, which is a kind of a marketing ploy, and the fact that he's made oodles of money. You can't go back, at least for the last decade, and say, oh, look, remember the fight Floyd was in? Oh, my God, oh, he showed this, he showed that. Nah, he didn't. He fights safety first. He doesn't care about excitement. He cares about his wallet, which is all fine and good. And to do that to a kid like Davis and turn him into a fighter that could become just a guy that made money and did nothing for the sport, in my opinion, as a boxing purist, I think that that's a mistake when Gervonta Davis has an opportunity to be one of those great fighters, to be in memorable fights that people will talk about for years to come. Something that I honestly don't believe will happen with Floyd. I think in a very quick way, after Floyd is in the Hall of Fame, people are going to forget him because his fights just were not memorable. Sal, real quick, I got a minute. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. I mean, here we are. We still talk comparatively to to the great fights we saw. Whether it was the Rand series of fights, Sugar Ray Leonard series of fights, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, all these great, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. I mean, we can wrap them off like we were still watching it live today because they were so memorable, so impressionable. And there's not one fight that does come to mind for me except for Pacquiao, and that unfortunately wasn't the best memorable fight that
that comes to your mind. That comes to mind because it was so anticlimactic. Hold that thought, yes. Sal. We are going to take a short break and let's finish that discussion. We got some news on Terence Crawford's next fight. All that stuff is coming up in about 2 minutes. So don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the Mighty Mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show, and I'm here with Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, just before we went to break, we were discussing, the Floyd Mayweather Gervonta Davis connection, and you were saying some positive things. And I just, again, I'm not trying to bash Floyd, although I do when I can. The truth of the matter is, I just think Gervonta Davis has the talent to succeed on his own and make a name for himself, his own name. I can't help but look at, what happened to Adrian Broner, and he keeps continuing his spiral downward dive. And, Floyd abandoned Badou Jack, and Badou Jack actually turned into probably, aside from Davis, the best fighter in his stable. J. Leon Love, he's still doing nothing with. So, as a fighter, Floyd was great, but as a promoter, not so much. He's got the ego. He can't let go of that. He's got to. I don't know if you noticed, but in the fight with Davis, he kept walking in front of the camera. I mean, he was like a referee, for God's sakes. He wanted that limelight, Sal. I don't know. If I'm Gervonta Davis, I kick him to the curb now.
I know. Well, wherever you go, ego.
Right, right. And that's the problem.
Oh boy, and I'll stick to my new material you can write for me tomorrow. Thank you. But anyway, I understand, and I look at what's gotten Gervonta Davis where he is today. Yes, it is his skill set, his raw ability, and his innate ability to conquer his opponents thus far. I mean, he's a very exciting fighter. I like him. I'm a fan of his. I think he's got a brilliant career ahead of him, and I'm sure he's going to be able to carve his own name out of the history books if he does move along carefully and takes care of himself outside the ring as well as inside the ring. So I think he's got a brilliant future ahead of him. His alignment with Floyd, like I said, has not hurt him up to this point, and I think has maybe helped him to a degree on a promotional angle and attention angle. Now, his future is really up to him, but the bottom line is I don't necessarily feel that Floyd's continued alignment with him is all that detrimental. Now, I do regret to say that if what I read in the chat room with Coach, and I think Coach is brilliant when he assesses. I think all you guys in the chat room are very knowledgeable and very good. But if Coach is saying that Floyd Mayweather is going to stave off the potential fight with Lomachenko, I mean, that's a fight that I'd like to see within a year or so. And that would be maybe just a stellar performance, a stellar fight, and that could be really a mega big payday for both these guys. And I think it's something that we should look forward to seeing.
They in the chat room they make a couple other points that are all very good. First of all, Davis is a champion, so theoretically he shouldn't be avoiding anyone. And this division is so chock full of talent. Is he willing to fight a guy like Leo Santa Cruz or Carl Frampton or even Gary Russell Jr. or Abner Mares or Scott Quigg or Lee Selby or Oscar Valdez? I mean, these are all quality fighters. And if he follows the Floyd Mayweather blueprint, he's going to duck all of them. He's going to, he's not going to fight any of them. He's going to pick some other obscure opponent and then be pounding his chest saying he's great. If he fights all these guys and Floyd is influencing him to do so, then more power to Floyd. But, then again, I say, why aren't you telling him? Floyd is a do as I say, not as I do. Is he saying do as I say, not as I do, and wants to help Davis, become a great fighter and fight the challenges that great fighters do? Or is he going to say, do as I did, and you'll have a lot of money like I do, duck all the quality fighters? That's what I'm afraid of, Sal.
Well, and those are the two sides that we're going to have to see what pans out because, hey, guess what? Maybe Floyd Mayweather, could live vicariously through him. Like say, well, you know what? Even though I wouldn't take that kind of chance or risk. Guess what, kid? I think you're gonna fight Lomachenko. I think you're gonna fight this, and just say, hey, this is the path. Maybe, am I humble enough to say this? Not me, but if I was Floyd, I might not have wanted that route. But you know what? Hey, it's not me. I'm gonna put this kid in the ring with Lomachenko, or I use Lomachenko, but I'm just saying somebody that level of skill set and accomplishment. So we don't know, and that's going to have to wait to see what the future pans out for this guy in the next 6 months to a year. We should revisit this conversation and see where we are from today, from 6 months from now to a year. Now let's revisit this on a periodical basis.
It's going to be interesting to see how it develops and. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really, truly hope that I'm wrong and that Floyd cultivates Davis. And let's not forget, like they just said in the chat room, he's already a champion. So my own rules are simply this. You're a champion. That means you fight everybody. You don't. Let's not hear that he's still developing. But speaking of developing, some developing news. We were talking about Terence Crawford and his possible next opponent. Terence Crawford says he might want to move up in weight. He might want to, go after a guy like Keith Thurman, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of us felt that the most logical thing for him to do would be to fight Indongo. As far as Julius Indongo is concerned, he's undefeated, 22-11. He, too, has 2 of the belts in the junior welterweight division, like Terence Crawford. And apparently, and by the way, since the 4-belt era basically has been in effect since the 1980s, the late 1980s, only all 4 belts have been on the line in one fight 3 times. Bernard Hopkins, when he beat Oscar De La Hoya, he unified all of the middleweight titles. Hopkins defended those 4 titles against Howard Eastman, and he lost all 4 to Jermaine Taylor. By the time Taylor had fought Hopkins in a rematch, one of those belts was stripped. So that was it. So really, the only guy to have the 4 titles at once since the late 80s was B-Hop. Nobody else has done it in any weight division. So it would be a big accomplishment. Bob Arum, he said a bunch of things yesterday, Sally. He says, Indongo wants to fight, and we want to make the fight. He said that he wasn't sure where the fight would be located, but he feels that Crawford's hometown in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, is a possibility. Just what I was saying the other day. He says, I want to make the fight and get it done first. Then we'll figure out where it's going to be. But we're looking at this fight to take place by the end of July or the beginning of August. He said the chances are very good. You know, when they asked him if he thought it was going to be on HBO or pay-per-view or something like that, he kind of went off. He said the fight's going to happen this summer. If we can get the fight to unify against Indongo, that's great. But he's going to fight either way this summer. He said, when they asked him about if it's going to be on HBO, blah, blah, he says, that's none of your effing business. What the F are you talking about? HBO has done great for boxing. They've been good to boxing. I got nothing bad to say about HBO, but they're just a effing network. That's all they are. They don't own the business of boxing. And he says, and you may want to call up the guy over at Showtime, referring to Steven Espinosa, and tell him the same thing. He don't own boxing. He's just a effing network that puts stuff on for their subscribers. A little testy, Bob Arum being.
Is that Uncle Bob talking like that?
And the reason is because some of these networks are, they feel they're driving the bus, saying, "Hey, you got to fight at this day and that place and everything else." And Bob Arum is saying, "No, man, no way." And I agree with Bob. What do you think?
I agree with Bob on that level too. We shouldn't have the networks drive the fights and everything else because, I think Arum should stick to his guns there, and I agree with him. You know what I think of too, Bill? I think we have room for one more belt. And this should be the super unification 4-belt title holder belt. Something like that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I tell you what, let me get everybody caught up. We're going to be taking a break here in a minute, and we're going to be getting Larry Hazzard on. And we're going to give you an opportunity to go fill your 55-gallon jug of coffee. But let me get everyone caught up with some other sports scores right now. In the NBA Finals, or in the series leading up to the final, the Warriors are already waiting for the winner of the series between the Cavaliers and the Celtics. Last night, the Cavaliers took a 3-1 series lead over the Celtics by beating them 112-99. Over in the NHL, the Senators tied the series with the Penguins, forcing a Game 7. The series is tied now at 3 games apiece. There will be a Game 7. They beat the Penguins yesterday 2-1. So we will see a 7th game in that one. Now, as far as baseball, the Cubs beat the Giants 4-1. The Twins shut out the Orioles 2-0. The Royals beat your Yankees 6-2. The Nationals beat the Mariners 10-1. The Rockies over the Phillies 8-2. Red Sox beat the Rangers 11-6. The Indians over the Reds 8-7. The Angels over the Rays 4-0. The Braves, the resurgent Braves are a couple of games below 500 right now. They beat the Pirates 6-5. The Blue Jays 4-3 over the Brewers. The Astros, they can continue to win 6-2 over the Tigers. The Diamondbacks beat the White Sox 5-4. It took the Dodgers 13 innings to beat the Cardinals 2-1. The Marlins beat the A's 11-9. And my Mets finally got a win despite a really shaky performance by Matt Harvey. The bats did it for the Mets yesterday, all in the first inning, most of it. Anyway, they beat the Padres 9-3. So who knows what's going to happen there? But Sal, we're going to take a short break, my man, and when we come back, we're scheduled to have Larry Hazzard join us. Then we're going to do our blast from the past, and then you'll be all coffeeed and caffeined up, yeah, and we'll get you back on. So don't go anywhere, brother. We will be back to see you in a few. All right?
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you in a bit. That's Sal Rocky Senecola. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
This message is for all Americans that owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS. Look, I know you want to keep ignoring those letters, but the problem isn't going away. It's really stressful, and you don't know where to turn.
The good news is you have rights, and we can help resolve your IRS problems.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now and we will contact the IRS on your behalf, help you end wage garnishments, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, get rid of IRS and state tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify. You wouldn't go to fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
Let us take the stress of back taxes and the IRS off your shoulders so you can spend time on the important things in your life, like your family or your business. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you.
Have you heard? Proactive Plus is faster and better than ever. Stay tuned for a $1 million bottle giveaway, and you'll also receive free shipping. Do you have troubled skin? Acne? Well, we have great news. With Proactive Plus, your acne can heal, and you can help prevent new breakouts from happening. Don't miss this limited time offer. Give us a call at 800-567-0214 because we're going to let 1 million people try Proactive Plus risk-free and get 2 free gifts and also receive free shipping when you call right now. You heard it. This offer won't last long. So call Proactive Plus now and you'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial of Proactive Plus, 2 free extras, and free shipping. Call 800-567-0214. This is our exclusive radio offer, never on TV. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive Plus with free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Don't wait. Call 800-567-0214. That's 800-567-0214.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the Mighty Mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad to be with you today, and we're glad you're with us. And speaking about being with us, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please welcome the one, the only, Larry Hazzard. Good morning, Larry.
Morning, Billy. How you doing?
I'm doing.
How's everything?
I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. Lots of stuff to talk to you about. We got an email that somebody wants to get your thoughts on. But first, I got to jump right into this the whole situation that took place with the Andre Dirrell and Jose. And I can't pronounce this guy's name, so I'm going to just try to say it once, and I'm just going to refer to him as Jose. You guy or whatever. But Jose, the sucker punch. First and foremost, my thoughts, and maybe I'm totally wrong, I saw it like this, Larry. I thought that, the punch itself was he was in the middle of what I thought was like a two-punch combination. The bell rang. The first punch was delivered at the bell. The second one was already in motion. Did it happen after the bell? Yes, it did. Should he have been disqualified? I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, Larry. I thought maybe he should have been at most deducted a point. I thought Bill Clancy was kind of a little pissed that he wasn't understanding him after the warning from the previous round. And then the melee that took place afterwards, you could clearly see, although we did have the benefit of a replay, Bill Clancy did not, that the corner instructed Dirrell to stay down. Then that whole horrific scene with the uncle sucker punching, and he was clearly sucker punching. I mean, he was talking to the other corner man and then just hauls off and belts Jose. I thought it was a real bad move for boxing. What was your thoughts, number one, on what happened? And then number two, from a boxing commissioner's point of view, how would you have handled it if this took place in New Jersey?
Well, let me start with the last part first, okay? How I would have handled it, really, the commission was left with no choice. Neither was the referee left with anything more than what he did, because of the fact that the doctor ruled that the fighter could not continue. Now, of course, we know that there was a bid for the Academy Award in this whole situation, but this is one of the things that comes with the territory. The punch did come after the bell. Whether it was a part of a combination, whether it was accidental or whatever, it was not ruled accidental. Therefore, Clancy had no choice but to disqualify the fighter, mainly for the reason that the doctor ruled that the fighter could not continue, and certainly the doctor was not going to allow the fighter to continue with him saying that he can't go. You see, he started to get up, then he laid back down. So I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming. And, Clancy was left with no choice. Plus the fact he did warn, he said that he had warned the fighter on one or two other occasions about hitting after the bell. So, it's unfortunate, but it happens. Had the fighter been able to continue, then I think that the referee would have been well within his right to take away a point or maybe 2 points to try to even this thing up a little bit, and that would have been it. Now, as far as the other part of this, the chaos that took place afterwards, well, I think that it was handled, as well as it could be handled. No one expected that corner man to go over. It appeared as though he was going over to sort of make amends and congratulate the guy. We're sorry for what happened. And all of a sudden, he hauls off and punches the guy. It's my understanding that it has become a police situation, which it should be, and it just sends a warning to other commissions or to anyone who's watching it from an administrative perspective, is that you have to have your inspectors and all of the other personnel be a bit more vigilant to look out for these types of situations. And I think that it was handled fairly well, because a full-stage riot did not occur like what happened with Galata and Bo in Madison Square Garden several years ago. So I think that it was handled properly, and I can't be critical of the referee because he was left with no choice.
What happened with what was going on, what bothers me about the situation, Larry, was that, Andre Dirrell himself, and I agree, he should get an Academy Award. And as far as the doctor's ruling, that was after, after he realized that he had a chance to get the disqualification. He answered the questions all the right way to tell for the doctor to make that decision. But then again, we can't assume that. We don't know that for a fact. That's just my assumption. But what bothered me the most was Andre Dirrell. appeared to have gone over and, made amends, like your choice of words, which I agree with not only Jose, but the rest of his team. He said he understood, no problem, and he goes back to his corner. And then what starts taking place after that was Anthony Dirrell, who ends up slapping one of the security guards around in the third, fourth row, whatever. And then the other brother, who's up in the bleachers or wherever he was, he's fighting with everybody, getting dragged out, and then of course the uncle with the corner. It's almost like, when does a fighter be held responsible for his corner? I know it sounds like it's not fair, but in a way, as a commissioner, and as somebody that's trying to keep order, is it his fault? They were trying to say, well, it's my brother. The guy hit him. Well, wait a minute. It took place in a boxing ring that was well over. I'm not saying I would have justified it if it happened immediately, but at least you could say it was a spur of the moment, emotional. The emotions took over and you reacted. This took place 10 minutes after. I mean, it already had been done. It almost seemed like it was like, I don't want to say thought of, but it was definitely uncalled for. How much does the fighter have to pay the consequences for the rest of the team?
Well, you make a very interesting and a very good point, Billy. And perhaps at some point, this doesn't happen often. This really is not something that happens all the time or regularly. It's an aberration. It happens every now and then. We've seen it happen. Maybe once. Maybe this is maybe the second time that I've seen a situation like this, which this really didn't reach the point of the Bo Galata situation that happened several years ago. So, since that time, this is the only situation, to my recollection, that even reached this point. But you make an interesting point in that at some point, perhaps we have to look at the fighter and his team as one entity, okay, where they all are held responsible perhaps for one another, with the fighter being the one that's going to pay the cost eventually if the rest of the team does not, behave themselves. That's something that we should look at, because, it only takes maybe one time to do it. And, the word travels fast in the sport of boxing. And I think that, we might be able to curtail that even more. Just like I'm sure that with that fighter getting disqualified for punching after the bell, we're going to see less and less of that type of activity taking place also. It's unfortunate that someone has to pay the cost first, okay, by losing a fight or by being disqualified. But oftentimes in the sport of boxing, that's the quickest way to send the message. So what you're saying is something that perhaps we need to do at some point, even if we do get challenged by it. Fine the fighter, suspend the fighter, or whatever. You understand? To be able to curtail these types of situations and to control our sport even more. So, I'm not totally against that, and it's something that we should look at. Because this particular group, by the way, the Dirrells, and not to castigate them in a negative light, but they do have somewhat of a reputation for causing a little confusion. We had them in Atlantic City last year, okay? Now, they have the grandfather, who's a very nice gentleman, who works the corner, and they do have these other members of the family or of the team around who can get a little rambunctious, especially that other brother that you mentioned, because I've heard some conversation about, that particular group, And I've also heard it mentioned that the kid that was fighting is the real, level-headed kid, but that the brother, and I don't know this to be a fact, I'm telling you, information that you gather. It's my understanding that the other brother has a tendency to get a little, a bit out of line. So, this is the type of information that should be shared among commissions. This is the type of information that we should take to heart and prepare ourselves in advance, not that we're going to go overboard or be judge, jury, and executioner ahead of time or anything like that, but it's just good to be aware of it, and prevention certainly is the best thing or the best way to go in these situations so that they don't happen.
Yeah, and the last thing we need is additional, issues taking place in a sport like boxing. You don't need it outside of the ring, and that's what's
right.
so beautiful about the sport. You can have a guy that turns into I don't want to use the word, but just, a killer in the ring, a Mike Tyson-esque kind of guy. And then outside the ring, he's the nicest guy you ever want to meet. I mean, that's one of the beauties of the sport. We don't need other influences, and it just puts a black eye. It just has everyone, you see what happens. Oh, those boxing people, you see what happens, and that's, unfortunate. But there's a lot of other things. So let me move on to Gervonta Davis and his performance against Leon Walsh. I got to tell you, Larry, I love this kid. There's some things about him I don't like. His ego and all of that. He's using it as a ploy because he showed genuine respect for his opponent and their team after the fight. I love this kid. I really think. And, I always find myself, negative about Floyd Mayweather, but I don't think this kid needs Floyd Mayweather. I think that he's got enough ability, and I'm afraid that the same path that Adrian Broner and J. Leon Love and these other fighters that fall into this, I'm going to do whatever Floyd says, and Floyd, let's make no mistake, he doesn't want to give up any limelight, and it was evident in the Davis fight. I think Davis is a talent. I think he could be one of those great fighters. I mean, I know he's young, and I know he's only been around a little bit, but I see it in this kid. He's engaging. He's exciting, and I want him to keep moving in that direction. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I'm right on point with that. I love this kid too. I differ a little bit on your view with Floyd. I see a different relationship I see a little something different here, Billy, with this kid and Floyd. I know Floyd likes the limelight a little bit, but that's because he's it's hard to give that up.
No,
especially
I know.
when you've had it at the level of Floyd Mayweather. But
you got to ease. You got to ease out of it, right? It's like getting into a cold pool or something. You got to go one toe at a time, So yeah, I can see that.
You got to get out of it sooner or later.
Yeah.
That's why. But I like their relationship. It really kind of gives me that not father son, because Floyd's a little too young for that, but a big brother type relationship. It seems like they get along well. It seems like this kid, it starts with the kid also. It seems like this kid really has his head screwed on right, for lack of, if you don't mind me using that metaphor. You understand? And there's something different about this youngster, and he lets his performance do his talking. He's not over bragging, I'm this, I'm that. He's strictly business, and he looks like he knows what he's doing in there at a very young age, and I expect big things from him, and I'm like you, I love this kid, but I think that Floyd Mayweather thus far seems to be seems to be right for him.
Well,
I hope it stays that way.
Well, here's my thinking. My thinking on it is that, Floyd. Let's face it. We've discussed this, and I think you agree. Floyd Mayweather. There's only one Floyd. Everyone's trying to emulate Floyd. He's what he brings to the table is he's a calculated risk fighter. He calculated his opponents. He's sitting on boatloads of cash that, I could probably retire on the loose change that's in his couches. That's what he's done. But when you think about Floyd Mayweather, and we've said this before, you close your eyes, you think of Sugar Ray Leonard, you think of Sugar Ray Robinson, Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, et cetera, great fights come to mind. You remember Foreman and Ali. Remember Ali Frazier. You remember all these fights that pop in your mind. When you think of Floyd Mayweather, you don't think of him. You think of the money. You think of the undefeated record. Excitement isn't synonymous with Floyd Mayweather. What I'm afraid is that he's going to guide Gervonta Davis along those lines. Consider this. The division that Gervonta Davis is in, he is in a position to fight these fights. The Leo Santa Cruzes, the Lomachenko's, Carl Framptons, et cetera, all these fights that would be exciting fights, memorable fights, that I think he's got a good chance of winning them all, but they would be not easy fights, memorable fights that could cement his legacy for years to come. Long after he's done, people will still be talking. And my fear, Larry, is that Floyd's going to guide him to the lesser, the less challenging fights and sell the bill of goods about how much more money you can make for less effort. That's my point. What do you think?
Well, hey, I hope that doesn't happen. But you make a very valid point there. And, I think that would be a disservice to Gervonta if Floyd doesn't be on the constant lookout for the right dance partner for this kid, because I could see the potential there, and all of those guys that you mentioned, in time, not right now, but in time, I hope that he calls them all out, because I certainly think that he has the potential to beat them all, okay? I think that he's ready, to shut Broner's mouth right now, if that be the case, okay? Right now, I think he's ready, because Broner, I never really saw him as being much more than a lot of hype and a lot of talk, okay? And I still haven't gotten over how he got away with that robbery of Malignaggi at the Barclays Center, okay? But I hope that you're wrong, okay? Okay, I hope that you're wrong, and that I also hope that Floyd really, really try to find the right dance partner for this kid, because I see greatness in this kid at an early age.
I wouldn't agree with you more, and I hope I'm 100% wrong. I'm running out of time. There's a lot of things I want to get to. First and foremost, another one, Terence Crawford. Does what Terence Crawford does. I love this kid. He's a guy. He's a great example of what I was talking about before. Inside the ring, he wants to destroy his opponent. Outside, he's very respectful. And he does. I love watching him fight because he systematically breaks down his opponents. He doesn't fall for stupid tricks. And this guy has an opportunity, and according to Bob Arum, that's what they're shooting for, to unify all four belts. The only guy to have done that previously was Bernard Hopkins against when Crawford fights Indongo. What was your thoughts of his performance?
Again, we can't stop agreeing. I mean, and of course, I always have to get a pitch in for my guy. You're talking about a real gentleman outside of the ring. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard. You're talking about a killer in the ring and a real gentleman outside. There's your perfect example. But getting back to Terence Crawford, true. Nice kid outside. He's very respectful, respects his opponents. But once he goes through those ropes, man, you got a killer on your hand, and he takes care of business. And one thing I like, he's in good, he's got great management, promoter, however you want to call it, with that top rank, Bob Arum. Bob Arum and his team, they know how to move a kid. They know how to move a fighter along. I got to give him credit for that. I've been watching this guy for the last 30, 35 years, moving fighters here and there. And if a kid has talent, Bob Arum knows how, his matchmakers, they know how to nurture that talent, how to develop fighters. If a kid really has got it, they will find those dance partners that will bring out the best in their fighters. Pacquiao's an example, and all of the other great fighters. I'm not even going to try to name them that Bob Arum has promoted and moved along the way. So I see that same blueprint for Terence Crawford, and he's definitely on his way to becoming. Hey, right now, in my opinion, Terence Crawford, could be viewing for pound best out there. At this point right now.
Yeah.
With what he's showing. That's a name that you don't really hear mentioned that much with pound for pound. But he certainly gets my vote to at least be in the running.
I agree. I mean, this is a guy that seems to get better and better. And what I love about him, and same reasons I love about Davis, is that they're willing to engage when they have to. So, and that's what makes excitement in the sport. And Terence Crawford shows that he can engage and still not get hit, But
that's right.
And that's the sweet science. One last question, Larry. I only got about a minute. And I had an email for you, but we'll read it next time. It's not date sensitive. But in the fight that took place in Japan, Hassam Nadam fought Ryota Murata. And it wasn't a great fight or anything like that. But my point here is this. 3 of the judges that were appointed by the WBA and Gilberto Jesus Mendoza were all, they had a guy from Panama, a guy from Canada, a guy from the United States. 2 of them scored the fight for Nadam, 116-111, 115-112. And the third one, the U.S. guy, Raul Calles Jr., scored the fight 117-110 for Murata. Which, it was a majority decision. I'm okay, right? I was a little questioning that out of whack score for the other side. But then...
Well, it was a split decision.
Right. Then Mendoza comes out, and he said that he felt angry and frustrated about the decision. He said he personally scored the fight 117-110 for Murata, and then he apologized to Murata and the promoter of the event and said he was going to order an immediate rematch. My question to you is, what the hell is he saying? I mean, he approved these 2 guys. Shouldn't he have handled that behind closed doors? I mean, why would he go out? To me, that seemed blatant that the wrong guy won this fight.
Well, I said right away, someone sent me an email, told me to read the article. It was on Fight News, I think. Okay. And I responded, it's a very dangerous precedent. It reminds me of something that the former commissioner of this agency did a few years ago in a fight in Atlantic City where he suspended the judges. Okay. He suspended the judges in an unpopular decision. I think it was Paul Williams and I forgot the other guy.
Sandy Lara, wasn't it? Wasn't it the Lara fight?
Yeah, that's it. Okay? Very, very dangerous precedent. Totally unfair to the judges. Something that I would never do. Okay? And I don't think many of my colleagues would do that. Okay? This is the decision that the judges reached. All right? So, this is how it is in boxing. Sometimes you get an unpopular decision, but, to come along now and try to placate the ones who you thought won the fight and order an automatic rematch, I think that you're setting a dangerous precedent for any future unpopular decisions now. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to order rematches because you saw the fight differently? I mean, you approved the judges, okay? You approved the fight. So you live and die with the people that you appoint and you approve. I mean, you know, these things, we accept the fact that these things occur in boxing, so let's try to continue to improve the judging. But I think that that's a dangerous thing that he did, and I don't think that it was fair to the judges either.
Nah, it was bad. Hey, Larry, appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to next week. I got the email I'll read you, and then also we'll get to talk about the Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. fight, which is scheduled for this weekend. So I'm sure we'll have some more interesting things to discuss.
Okay, Billy. Looking forward to it.
Hey, by the way, good luck this weekend. I know you're getting inducted into – it's this weekend, right? The Atlantic City Hall of Fame?
Yes, it's this weekend. That's correct.
Congratulations again, my man, and good luck with that, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Billy. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care. That's Larry Hazzard, and giving us his thoughts, and as usual, we're mostly on the same page. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, the Blast from the Past with Alex Pierpaoli, and this week is Nicolino Locche. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the Mighty Mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching The Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And it's that time again. One of our longest segments and one of your guys' favorites. The Blast from the Past is coming up right now. Now, The Blast from the Past this weekend is being brought to us by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And it's being brought to us in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Get yourself a copy right now by visiting our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and clicking on the Title Bout Championship computer game banner. Well, joining me right now to tell us all about this week's Blast from the Past, who is former world champion and Boxing Hall of Famer Nicolino Locche, which was a request, by the way, is my main man, Alex Pierpaoli. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
I'm doing better than Jose User guy. I can't even pronounce his name, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But Nicolino Locche, one of your favorite fighters that you love to talk about, another request. And like I always say to everybody, if you have a Blast from the Past request, feel free to drop me an email, and we'll do it. And it's Billy at Talkin' Boxing. Tell us about Locche, your man.
My man, yeah. Since I have a little more of appreciation for him since I sent you that email.
Okay.
The first time we did him, I don't think I found too much info on him, and I guess I just didn't have the patience to watch. There's a lot of clips on him on YouTube, but they all have Spanish soundtracks, and I didn't have the patience, I don't think, last time to watch any or watch many more than just clips. I have a lot more appreciation for him, but no, this is not. He's a defensive guy, and I'm much more of a. I like a busy offense, aggressive fighter. I mean, I grew up in the Tyson generation, so I think that's sort of how my boxing compass points. But in terms of defensive wizardry. This guy should be right up there. When people talk about Willie Pep, Pernell Whitaker, Nicolino Locche should be right up there. As a matter of fact, as we'll get to, some of the greats think of him as better than Willie Pep. But yeah, you're right. The El Intocable, I think is how you say it, which means the untouchable. That was his nickname. And when you watch the clips of him, it's freakish. He really was untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, these are these guys that, it says it all, untouchable. And we had a lot of listeners that really loved this guy. And, you're the one that let the cat out of the bag. I was, about yourself. But the funny thing is, and not to take away from this because I want you to move forward with Locche, but this is exactly what my point. I don't know if you were listening earlier on the show, but this is exactly my point about, when you talk about all-time greats and where they go in the memory banks and when people talk about them. Great defensive fighters, unfortunately, don't get remembered. And Locche is a great example, similar to what I feel is going to happen with Floyd Mayweather. Yes, they're great. They're defensive. Nobody can hit them. But their fights aren't memorable because of it. The memorable fights, like you're saying, you're a Tyson guy. The memorable fights is watching him destroy an opponent, watching Jack Dempsey destroy opponents, or watching, back and forth great fights. Even Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton, those two fights will be memorable. So defensively saves you, and it's great, and other fighters respect it, but it's short-lived in terms of memory, at least in my opinion. Tell us about Locche.
Yeah, I think you do have a point there, and I think that's something that to think about. I think the other reason why this guy might not be as remembered is because so many fights, he was sort of a regional fighter in that sense. He fought for so long in his home country of Argentina. But yeah, Nicolino Locche, Nicolino Felipe Locche is his full name, El Intocable, or the Untouchable. He was born September 2nd, 1939 in Tunian, Mendoza province of Argentina. And he was a fistic genius. There's one of those sayings of boxing that I really love is, and it's a truism, and I'm not sure who coined it, or it's just one of those, in the glossary of fight sayings, it's one of them. Looks don't win fights. And, you could win a weigh-in, but that doesn't mean anything. This guy was the epitome of this. He looked kind of like a brawler, like he would be a brawler. But he was built kind of like Al Bundy. And for all you youngins, that was a sitcom called Married with Children. But anyway, he was 5'6" tall. He fought at lightweight and junior welterweight. And like I said, I mean, he looked like just this, sort of barrel-chested, balding, thick-shouldered guy. There's a really good article on the web by Mike Casey, a boxing historian. I think we've talked about him before. We've read some of his other articles on the net. He looked more like a journeyman pug, but his reflexes were absolutely ridiculous. And also, I think, Bill, like you say, the fact that he learned it as a craft. He started fighting as an amateur at the young age of 9. And supposedly he was fighting in little arenas that were lit with kerosene lamps. And one of the sort of stories that developed about him was he fought bigger guys. And sometimes he'd blow out the lamps to try to even up the score.
That's good stuff. This guy never fought in the U.S. or even in the U.K., Alex. I mean, his whole career he fought mostly in Argentina. But, it's amazing to see. I mean, not to – like you make a great point. I mean, there are some known fighters on his resume that our listeners, I'm sure, have heard of. But it's ironic to see that a guy who was such a defensive genius and master in the ring, who really didn't go for knockouts. I mean, his career, out of 136 fights, he only had he only had 14 knockouts, which gave him a slightly over 10% knockout ratio. However, when he won his world title in 1968 against Takeishi Fuji, the WBA super lightweight title, he knocked him out. He couldn't continue. So I guess when he had to reach down, he could muster up some meanness and stop an opponent, huh?
Right. I mean, he had mostly powder puffs in his hand, but even if you slice somebody with a little razor blade or like an X-Acto knife, you keep doing that all night. Eventually you're going to take them out. And the thing that was amazing about him was he could stand there right in front of you, stand in the pocket, and able to just sort of slip out of the way in these ridiculous ways, little fractions of movements that he could make you miss. Punches would sail over his shoulders. He may have been the one who invented the rope-a-dope even before Ali. He didn't use it in the same way because you couldn't hit him, but he could lean back into the ropes and disappear from a fighter. The way Casey refers to it as a liquid-like defense, and I like that because it sounds like the Matrix or something. But it is ridiculous. One of the other things about him, he was a smoker. He smoked about 2 packs a day, up to like 50 cigarettes. And sometimes his cornerman would hold up a towel and he'd take a drag in between rounds. But that didn't seem to affect him. It did affect him his long-term health. That's probably what did him in, was smoking. But it's pretty ridiculous. This is not a guy who was not a runner, as you would say. He didn't dance away from his opponent to make him miss. That's what frustrated the hell out of him. The clips on YouTube are crazy.
The smoking thing in the 60s, mid 60s, late 60s, when he was, in his prime and fought, a lot of superstar athletes smoked. I remember one of my idols, Joe Namath, of course, when he retired from football for that year, he had this, show. He had like this talk show, and he had all the superstars of the era coming on. The Mickey Mantles and Gordie Howes and other superstars of the era. and they all were smoking. They were, on the sidelines. Fred Biletnikoff used to smoke cigarettes in between plays, and you say to yourself, that's one thing that we've learned today is, smoking's not good for you. I would be shocked if any athlete today, even if he's not a superstar, any professional athlete today, if they smoked, so times have changed. But anyway.
It's got to be so rare, but I wouldn't be surprised today, Billy C, if there's people out there vaping. Who was a guy who I can imagine vaping was, who was it? Terrell Owens, the guy who brought the gun into the club and it fell out of his pocket. Wasn't it Terrell Owens?
Well, no, Plexico. You're talking about Plexico Burress shot himself in the leg.
Oh, okay, that was him.
That was
I can picture, somebody getting into a vape. I don't know. It's off on a rant. Never mind.
It's because you're in Connecticut and things are different there now. But he wins the title. He had some successful defenses. Carlos Hernandez was one of his successful defenses, and several others, and he dominated the division for several years, including a win over Antonio Cervantes. Now, Cervantes, is he a Hall of Famer?
No. The three Hall of Famers on his record are Eddie Perkins, Ismael Laguna, and Carlos Ortiz. He won against a 10-rounder over Eddie Perkins in August of '67, and then he drew with both Ismael Laguna and with Carlos Ortiz. I think all three of those guys he fought at lightweight. Who I think eventually may get in, I think he's been on the ballot a few times, is Carlos Hernandez. He's probably Hall of Fame quality. That might eventually be another Hall of Famer that is on Locche's record. But no, those were the Hall of Famers that he fought.
The Cervantes fight was a pretty decent fight, and but his skill set started to fade. That fight, the first fight, took place in 1971. The second fight took place after he was already had lost his title, because he lost his title to Alfonso Frazier in 1972. And it would be safe to say, Alex, that by the time he fought Frazier, his skill set started to fail him, and you could kind of see. No disrespect to Frazier, but he wasn't the same caliber of the fighter that he had been beating. He won a couple more, then he got his rematch with Cervantes and actually was stopped and took 2 years off and then came back and won. But that was it. I think his skill set, he knew, was on the way out.
Yeah, a guy like this, that he didn't have a lot of pop, that he could, especially when a fighter gets older and those reflexes get blunted, almost every fighter becomes to some degree a puncher, because they could, they know the little tricky openings and stuff that the other guy doesn't know yet, and maybe they could set traps and stuff like that. But he didn't really have that power to fall back on. And one of my favorite books about boxing is Ralph Wiley's Serenity. And in that, he talks so much. Everybody knows this who watch boxing, but he really drives that point home, that reflexes is everything in boxing. And once those are gone, it's over. A fighter I saw recently who looked shot was Delvin Rodriguez. He's a good example of somebody whose reflexes just aren't what they were, and I think maybe that's what happened to Locche. Is that they weren't what they were.
Rodriguez never had the defense that Locche had, but
certainly not. I don't need to compare him in that sense.
so Locche did take 2 years off of after he couldn't continue with Cervantes. And then he ran off 6 more wins from 1975 through his last fight in August of 1976, and then retired. What did he do after that, Alex?
I don't know. That's unfortunate too. It's I don't have the newspapers I search tend to be American papers or UK papers. I don't see any South American papers or Argentinian papers. He did have a triple bypass in 1994. He had, like I said, heart and lung issues. But if I could read one paragraph that I thought was just beautiful from the Mike Casey article here. Once in motion, however, Locche blew all stereotype images from the mind. His was a lazy, languid, impudent style that was all his own. He was genuinely unique among the great magicians of the ring, and I haven't seen his like since. He was a grandmaster of all the essential technical skills and invented his own little eclectic collection into the bargain. He was El Intocable, the untouchable. What he didn't possess was a knockout wallop, and how convenient that was for certain lazy writers whose research on Locche was to simply glance at his long record and highlight the 14 KO wins from the staggering total of 117 triumphs, 14 draws, and just 4 losses in 135 battles. So yeah, that's Casey's point, is that you can't look at this guy at the fact that, in terms of his punches, he couldn't break an egg.
He's still alive, right?
Locche died. No, he's dead.
Oh, I didn't have his death. I couldn't find any death. When did he pass?
He died, the bypass was in 94. He did not go to his induction. So he was dead, before he was inducted.
Really? I didn't have I have him listed as still living at 77 years old. Huh.
No, died September 7th, 2005.
Oh.
In Argentina.
Well, you have any final thoughts on Locche?
Just another Ray Arcel in terms of the sort of the credentials this guy has. The great people, great boxing historians looked at him as great. Ray Arcel thought he was the best defensive fighter ever. Second was Willie Pep. Hank Kaplan felt, the great historian, felt that Locche had an exquisite defense and a great vision to be able to see punches. And it was Angelo Dundee who spoke at his IB International Boxing Hall of Fame induction, and he said that Locche was slick, smart, and he played the ropes.
Okay, how did he do in title bout?
I put him in against the badass of the weekend, or one of the many badasses of the weekend, actually, Terence Crawford. The first time they fought, unanimous decision for Nicolino Locche. Majority decision, my bad. One score, 115 all. Locche wins by one score of 116-113 and one of 117-113. Locche was able to cut Crawford in the fourth, and Crawford bled for much of the fight, but it was kept under control. In the 11th and the 12th, the doctor looked at it, but otherwise, just majority decision. When they fight 100 times, Locche bests him. 53 wins, 37 losses, 10 draws. He actually scored 11 knockouts of Bud Crawford. And in Crawford's 37 wins, 21 of them were by stoppage.
Sounds good.
And I would think stoppage would include a coughing fit,
Yeah, needing to light up another smoke, So, Nicolino Locche, former world junior welterweight champion, had the title for 4 years. He actually defended it 5 times, I believe. He was known for his great defense and athletic ability, like Alex just said, and all the trainers that gave him the accolades. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2003. He had a really good amateur career also, 117 wins against 5 losses. As far as his pro record, 117 wins, 14 by knockout. He lost 4 times, in which he was only stopped once, and he had 14 draws. Nicolino Locche, our blast from the past this week. Great job as usual, Alex. And as we're running out of time, I got to get your thoughts on a couple of things. First and foremost,
the
dastardly deed against Jose, which I'm not going to murder his name again. I thought it was a travesty. Larry made some interesting points from a commission point of view, but I thought Bill Clancy made a mistake. I think that fight should not have been a disqualification. I think a point or even two, and then if Dirrell could not continue, go to the scorecards. I thought he was already in motion with the punch, even though it did occur after the bell. I mean, if he would have landed another one, different story. I don't know. It's a judgment call. It wasn't my call. It was Bill Clancy's. But what was your thoughts on that? And then, of course, the melee afterwards.
I thought, when I first saw it, I kind of went along with the groupthink of Malignaggi, Ronaldo, and Bernstein, who immediately agreed with the referee that it was after the bell, far enough after the bell that it could have been stopped, pulled back by the fighter, and that it was, not egregious, but it was definitely a foul. When I had two friends over, they both thought, they were like, real, that's not that bad. I was a little surprised. Both of them, their reaction was that it wasn't that bad. So that's, 2/3 of the viewers watching. However, what happened after, there's no excuse for. And it's very sad. It's just a reminder that we, I'm not sure we should look to boxers for role models. I think you got to be careful whenever you look for people in this day and age for role models, because I don't know if you saw, but Clarissa Shields, who you kind of wanted to feel good about, defended the uncle's actions on social media, and I think she might have since deleted the post. I couldn't find it last night, but I don't know. I mean, what he did was awful. It's right up there with the James Butler, sucker punch to Richard the Alien Grant. But I think there is a legitimate question, and maybe I do fault. I think you're right. Maybe we should fault Showtime bringing up the idea, like what Larry was saying, like both you guys were saying, that was it so egregious that it required a DQ? I mean, they went right to DQ. And I think maybe some of it was the acting on Dirrell's part. When you go down face first, a lot of times you're done. It did look like he was done. But then, I don't know. It's a tough one. In the way he made the call, things seemed okay. In terms of the way Dirrell was handling it, he had the most class of his whole team. But his uncle, and it looked like his brother, too, took a swipe at one of the guys with the state commission. If you watch part of the clip that Showtime aired, in the little scuffle, there does look like a punch is thrown from Dirrell.
Oh, yeah, both brothers. But listen, Showtime, they're kicking HBO's butt in terms of quantity and even some matchups, but that announcing team is Ronaldo doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook. All he does is he makes he likes to pride himself on he's working the body like there's candy in it. I mean, come on. If I hear that joke one more time,
he's awful. All his references are atrocious.
I can't
handle it. I would love it if they replaced him, or he just changed his shtick up. His timing is bad. He interrupts Al all the time. He interrupts Paulie. And Paulie and Al are really good.
No, I agree, and he's bringing them down. He's terrible. He's the worst. But listen, Alex, I got 1 minute. The question today is Gervonta Davis. I thought Gervonta Davis put on a fantastic performance, and I think that the sky's the limit for this kid. 19 years old or 20 years old, whatever he is, and he shows me all the things I want to see in a young fighter. Except I'm not sure his alliance with Floyd is going to end well. Larry disagrees with me. I look at the history with Floyd and some of his other so-called proteges. Not one of them has ended in the right direction. I think Gervonta Davis has a chance to be a great fighter. I really do. I know it's early, but I do. What's your thoughts on the relationship with the two?
The relationship, I think, I hope and pray that for his sake, Gervonta Davis is proceeding with caution and is highly suspicious of everything that Floyd says and doesn't, want to make himself into that mold of a Floyd athlete, because the way Floyd is, because Floyd, there's not a lot of admirable qualities about him. To me, he never had much charisma. Gervonta Davis, I think the knock on him for me is he's a counter puncher. As much as he's an explosive puncher, he waits a long time. Give me a guy like Gary Russell Jr. Of the weekend, I like Gary Russell Jr.'s performance the best. Terence Crawford looks sensational, but I don't know. I think HBO was way over the top in the hyperbole. To me, Gervonta Davis would be wise to, like I said, proceed with caution. I mean, Floyd just has very little class. You saw his comments about Anthony Joshua. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. I can't help but think that relationship will eventually end poorly, like most relationships between fighters and promoters.
most relationships with anyone and Floyd. And the thing the
like
thing,
most of his wives or girlfriends.
The thing about Floyd, which I can't stand, is he and his fans support him. You know, he says he could school Triple G easy, and because of that, he doesn't even have to fight him. You know, and his fans are all going, "Oh yeah, he's so good. Why should he have to fight him? He could school him easy." I just don't understand that mindset. But Alex, we got to take a break. I appreciate your blast today. It was a great job, and we look forward to you next week to talk about the blast, and of course Errol Spence and Kell Brook, another big fight this weekend.
Can't wait for that. This is going to be a good weekend. Very excited.
All right, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
That was Alex Pierpaoli, and we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have my man Sal Rocky Senacola back with us.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the Mighty Mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you're with us. And speaking about being with us, back with us is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Hey, Bill, how you doing, buddy? Those were good segments. I enjoyed listening.
Oh, hey,
Very good.
Well, hey, I'm glad you approve.
I approve.
Then we can move on. We can move on now. So that's good. We got a couple of emails, and we'll get your thoughts on them. First one is from my man, Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, I read Omar Figueroa and Robert DeGoes Guerrero will happen in Uniondale, New York. I just see this bout as a stepping stone for Omar, who has been inactive, and Robert will use this fight as his way out in order to let Omar shine. Both guys fight on the inside and should be somewhat entertaining. How do you see the fight going? Marcus Brown against Shawnee Monahan should also be good. This is a fight that's taken place in Union Vale, which will be the new arena where the Islanders used to play. How do I see this fight going? I think it will be an entertaining fight. I think it also shows that Robert DeGoes Guerrero, I agree with Jesse, Sal, that it's kind of like it's ushering in the new kid with Omar Figueroa. But never count out Robert DeGoes Guerrero. He is a tough fighter. He's been in there with world-class fighters. He's come up short, but I wouldn't count him out yet. Figueroa definitely doesn't have the resume that the Ghost has. What's your thoughts on that fight?
I share the same as you. I think it's a passing of the torch. I think it should be a good, entertaining fight. And I think when push comes to shove, it's going to be what you and I, what we all expect here.
The other fight that Jesse mentions, Marcus Brown against Shawnee Monahan. Shawnee Monahan, he works real hard and everything, but he's not exactly super talented. It's not his fault. He was overprotected. And Marcus Brown is the same. So I think that both fighters have an opportunity in this one to move forward should they win. The loser will have to get back on his horse and climb the ladder again. I think this is a significant fight for both. I think the winner will move on to bigger and better things. He says, what's your thoughts on Naoya Monster Inino saying his next fight will be in the U.S.? I hope so. I mean, this kid is, it's funny, they call the small guys monsters, Sal, but
I like that.
But this kid does do nothing but win, and he wins in dominating fashion. The problem is the fact that, like in his last fight that he fought last weekend, he fought a guy that, didn't have that flattering of a record, who mysteriously was the number one, number one mandatory for him. But it is a division, Sal, that is far and few in between with fighters. So I look forward to seeing him in the U.S. What about you?
Yeah, me too. It's about time. Let's get him over here and give him some good exposure on the U.S. territory, and let's see what he does. I'm looking forward to that.
Jesse says, hey, Billy C., what about Diaz and Crawford peaking at 1.036 million viewers? How did you see that? It doesn't surprise me. Terence Crawford is a fighter. First of all, they had that pay-per-view with Terence Crawford, and it didn't do that well. I think because he was on pay-per-view, and then maybe some, casual boxing fans saw that he was on regular HBO, that they figure, hey, let's watch it. He is a good fighter. I hope the numbers are accurate, and it doesn't surprise me. I think HBO, on regular HBO, does great regardless of who's fighting. But like Larry, I think that Terence Crawford is a top pound-for-pound fighter, and I love the guy. He says, Brooks said that his fight is like Kelly versus Nassim. He says, I think Spence is more talented, even though Kelly was excellent. He's referring to Kevin Kelly and Prince Hassim Hamed, which was a great fight. Listen, I don't know what to expect in this fight this weekend, Sal. We will start to break this fight down. Errol Spence Jr. and Kell Brook, and just quickly, when I look at this fight, they've even though Kell Brook is more accomplished in terms of titles and recognition, they've fought similar opposition. I mean, Errol Spence has quietly faced similar opposition as Kell Brook. So it's going to be an interesting fight, Sal.
Yes, it should be, and we'll look forward to that. I'll tell you that.
We got another email. This one is from my man Mitch. And the title says, breaking news. He says, Billy C., You're hearing it here first. He says the IBF is going to change the Dirrell fight to a no contest and will order an immediate rematch. You won't see this on any websites if you look. Remember, Mitch gave you this news first before anyone else. That'd be interesting if it comes true. Here's the thing that bothers me about this, if it takes place. I believe that because sanctioning bodies are what they are, I don't believe that a sanctioning body has the jurisdiction to change an outcome of a fight to a no contest. I think that falls solely on the commission's shoulders. I think the only thing that a sanctioning body can do, because remember, it's their title, I think the only thing that they can do is order an immediate rematch. I don't think they have the jurisdiction to rule a fight a no contest. I feel that falls in the commission's hands. What do you think, Sal?
Well, I'll tell you what. I believe you're 100% right, and I know Larry Hazzard would be the one to really ice that and get that answer. But I think it's solely on the commissioner. I mean, you just made me remember my initial pro debut with Bob Arum, Top Rank, and ESPN, and I fought a guy from Chicago. And it was my pro debut, and that was Gary Gamble. And I think what happened before the end of the third round, he put his hand around my head, and he put his head down and yanked me right into his head. Split my forehead open right here where I received 63 stitches. Well, initially the referee called it a win for Gary Gamble, even though I won the first round. But I think what happened was later on it was overturned and ruled a no contest because the rules and regulations and laws in the state of New Jersey declared that if a fight should end in a butt fashion before the end of a third round, then it's going to be ruled a no contest, and that's exactly what happened with me. So it is up to the commissioner, I believe, and that's where this should stand.
We have another email. This one's from Joel, and he had a question for Larry, which I'm not going to read, and we will give that to Larry next week. I apologize to you, Joel. We ran out of time. But his question for us, Sal, is he says, hey, guys, I was wondering if you and Mr. Tri-State area, Sal Senecola, I don't know where you got that.
Absolutely, yeah, it's
thoughts
me.
on the boxing card that was announced today or yesterday. He says that's opening up at the Nassau Coliseum. Guerrero versus Figueroa, Monahan versus Brown, and Spitzka versus Konaki. I think it's an intriguing card, and I'm glad to see boxing's back in Long Island. The UFC on regular Fox will be at the new Coliseum a week later. Both prominent combat sports from the same venue on the same network. If Sal and you were 20 years younger, you guys would sell out to any venue in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island.
Make a comeback
in 60 seconds. He says New York, New Jersey, Long Island. Hey, Joel, Long Island is New York. Come on, man. Come on. But, yeah, the card, we talked about that a few moments ago. That card is interesting. We'll have to wait and see. As far as Spitzka, I'm glad to see him come back. I like Spitzka. But anyway, we got the another question here, Sal, and this one, the topic is trivia question. And it says, hey, Billy C., my name is Eric Rosas, and I've been listening to your show for a little over a year now. This is the best boxing podcast. The content is great. One day I'll have to call in, but I wanted to take a guess on the trivia question, and I think I know the answer to this one. He says Rigondeaux versus Amagasa was for the WBO and WBA super bantamweight titles. Amagasa was listed at 5'10" inches, and Rigondeaux 5'4". I'll listen to the show to see if I'm right. Thanks again, fellas, and keep the great content coming. Normally I don't read answers to trivia questions as an email, but because Eric is a new listener, I figured that we would. And we love all our listeners, and we especially like to hear from new ones, especially if you're watching on the Holyfield Television Network. We're curious to see when you're watching and get some information on that. We know we've heard from a lot of people from Fight TV, and look for some other networks that we're finalizing some deals right now with, and we're real excited, especially with the project that Sal and I are going to be working on in a couple of weeks down in St. Simon. So all of that. But to answer your question, Eric, it's a great answer, but the answer is no, that's not the answer. But here, I'm going to ask today's trivia question right now, Sal.
All right, let's go.
It is a one that is a tough one. We've gotten a lot of great answers, but this one's still alive and well. So if you get this answer correctly, if you're the first one to answer it correctly by emailing me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex just read his simulation with our blast from the past today, Nicolino Locche against Terence Crawford. Here's the question. Excluding heavyweights, what is the biggest height difference between two men in the same division fighting for a world title? Excluding heavyweights, what's the biggest height difference between two men in the same division for a title fight? As usual, we're going to ask Sal. Maybe Sal can get this question right, and then I'll move on to another question. But Sal, do you know the answer? What is the biggest height difference between two men in the same division for a world title fight, excluding the heavyweights? Do you have an answer?
Well, I was going to say Jack Dempsey, but he was a heavyweight. I don't have an answer. Who's the shortest guy that Tommy Hearns fought?
Sal Rocky Senecola. So this question is still
it's
active?
still on the front burner. I can't believe there's not one person out there that can answer this question.
I can believe it. It's a tough one.
I know you could answer, Bill.
No, I couldn't. I would have never got it. And
let me ask you this. Was this our dear friend Larry, Henry Haskup's origination?
Yes. Henry gets some tough ones. So for anybody out there, if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you will win the prize. What is the biggest height difference between two fighters fighting for a world title, excluding heavyweights? So email me. On tomorrow's show, we are going to start to break down the Errol Spence-Kell Brook fight and talk about some of the other fights that are on that card. Interesting one for the Commonwealth heavyweight title. One of the guys isn't even from the UK, so interesting there. And then Friday, don't forget that we will be giving you our 100% breakdowns and predictions. Dax will join and give us his. So we got a busy week coming up as we close out the week. And to answer everyone's question, no, we are not doing a post-fight show, Kell Brook against Errol Spence Jr. Now, the reason we're not doing a post-fight show, because we have promised that we're doing all post-fight shows for the major fights. The reason is that this one is another fight that's on early. It's on at 5 p.m., and we found that a lot of you are not, especially on the weekends during the summer, are not watching the fight live, that you're going and even DVRing it or watching it later. And we find that we get a bigger and more interactive audience when the fights are on later. So that's the only reason. Other than that, it is a good fight, but we will be doing our post-fight show on Monday about that fight. So anyway, I will tell you guys this. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.